actually has a designer. If you go to viralstyle.com/design, once you're logged in, if you click the design tab, you're going to end up here in the designer. And actually in here you can add text and artwork, and ViralStyle has many different fonts and many graphics available to you. And in a future video, I'm going to walk you through step by step how you can actually use this designer to create a unique design right here within the designer without having to use a third-party software, graphic design software, or hire someone to do designs for you. Let's keep that in mind, but also as you get more advanced into these things, you're going to want to learn something like Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, or another graphic design software, because it's just going to give you additional options and opportunities to create unique graphic design. Then as your workload gets filled up, the big picture long term, like where I'm at right now, is I actually hire designers to create designs for me to get the time and the work off my plate. But I'll tell you that in my first year of doing this business, I did all of my own designs, and it's totally possible. I'm not a graphic designer. I knew somewhat about Photoshop and background in photography, but I didn't know how to create graphic designs. And I learned just enough to create designs on ViralStyle and to be able to put together something that looked good and ended up selling really well. And I would say my first $1 million in gross revenue was all done just me creating designs myself without ever hiring an outside source. So if I can do 7 figures in sales creating designs in Photoshop, you can too, if you learn all the skills that we're going to be teaching you here in ViralStyle Academy. So something to focus on in the crucial parts of the design. Again, we're looking at broad stroke concepts here in this particular teaching. The 3 elements that you got to think about are the fonts that you're using, the graphics that you're using, and the specific layout of the fonts and the graphics together. Something I really want to focus on, and to me this is the most important part of all of it, is that whatever design you're making has to be designed to sell on Facebook mobile. Because that's the methodology we're teaching here, is to eventually you're going to be running ads on Facebook, and about 80-85% of Facebook users are using Facebook on their phone. They're not using it on desktop. Some are using it on tablet, but overall you have to keep in mind that that is where Facebook is being used. That is what Facebook is designed for, is to be used as a mobile app. The difficulty I think a lot of people have, especially getting started, is they're creating a design on their computer. So it's easy to see, it's easy to read on the computer, and they're not really keeping in mind the fact that a phone is so much smaller than a computer screen, and that on a phone you have to create designs that have very large fonts, big bold letters that are easy to read. There has to be a strong contrast in the colors between the colors you're using and the background shirt color that you're picking to stand out. So to show you an example of what I'm talking about, I want to bring up this campaign that ViralStyle is running right now for Rob Gronkowski. This is the ViralStyle website that I pulled from my laptop computer screen. I just took a screenshot of it and put it on here so you can see. This is the normal dimension, the normal view that somebody would see if they were looking at on your computer. And also if you upload a design to ViralStyle on your computer, this is what you'd be seeing as well. But I want to compare this to you versus what they would be seeing if they were looking at ViralStyle mobile. Okay, so here's the two side by side. Literally, this is me taking an iPhone 6, a regular iPhone 6, and holding it up next to my laptop screen. So you can see the difference here, how extremely much smaller the phone screen is in comparison with the desktop screen. All right, now I need to mention another thing, is that they're not going to be looking at ViralStyle mobile until they've actually clicked the link to get to ViralStyle. What they're going to see before they see your ViralStyle page is they're going to be seeing your ad come in on Facebook. So let me bring this up in a third screen here. This is the actual ad running for the Rob Gronkowski shirt. I pulled it up here, took a screenshot off of Facebook mobile app. So you can see here the massive difference in size in comparison of the desktop viewing versus viewing ViralStyle mobile versus viewing the actual ad on Facebook mobile. Okay, so I just want everyone to really get this concept, because you have to understand that what's going on here is they're not shopping for your t-shirt when you're running them a Facebook ad. They're just browsing Facebook, they're looking at their friends' posts, they're looking at their friends' pictures, and then all of a sudden you are shoving this ad in front of their face and screaming at them, hey, buy me right now. Even though they're not shopping, they don't plan to be buying something, they're not looking for something to buy. So you have this very brief window of maybe a second or less to grab their attention to whatever you're selling, okay? So you have to create a design keeping in mind the entire time that you are designing for them to view it on this teeny tiny little mobile screen in a teeny tiny little Facebook ad. So it has to be fonts and colors and graphics that are going to stand out, be very big and bold, so that when they are scrolling on mobile, they can very easily read what the design says and they can understand what it is. So a lot of people that I've known that are trying to get into t-shirts in the beginning, they're creating designs only thinking of the desktop experience, where it's actually pretty easy to read smaller fonts and see smaller graphics. But you just can't do that because it's such a small percentage of your sales is actually going to happen on desktop versus mobile. So I'm stressing this hard. Always keep your mobile design in mind, and you can even take a picture of it, send it to yourself or upload it, and then go into Viral Style Mobile and take a look at it. Just something to give yourself a concept of how it's actually going to look on a mobile device versus your desktop computer. Something we covered in some of the previous videos is being able to draw inspiration from something that already exists. So what I recommend doing when thinking of design is if you see a design out there that's selling, let's say it's got hundreds or maybe thousands of sales, is use it as a template in its layout, because you can take that same layout, and obviously the layout they use is a piece of the puzzle as to why that design is selling. Designs that aren't selling, I wouldn't recommend you use them for a layout, so I'm going to give you some examples here, but when you're using them as an example, you can use similar fonts, the layout, the graphics. We're always encouraging you have to make your own original work. You cannot copy what they're doing, but you can use it as a template and create a new phrase or whatever. I've sometimes seen a design out there that the layout really made sense and it was being done over and over again. Other people were using it, so I took the same layout and I used it to create a brand new piece, but because the layout worked, the design sold. So I also want to bring up that if you need help with design and you would like to hire someone else to do a design for you, Viral Style can actually connect you for a very inexpensive cost with good quality designers that you can shoot ideas over to, and they could actually pull together and create designs for you for not very expensive cost, and it would save you time and energy than having to go out there and find your own designers. So if you contact Viral Style at support@viralstyle.com, you email them, they can give you all the information that you might need in order to look more into having them get a designer for you and taking that burden off your plate if you just feel like you don't want to learn it or you don't feel like it's a skill that you can pick up. So also in future videos, something that we're going to be covering is how you can personally go out there and outsource your design work. Hire a designer off of various platforms on the internet and they'll create designs for you. It's a great way to maximize your time. It's what I do now, but that's a more advanced strategy we'll cover down the road. I'm going to jump over here and show you some examples right now of designs that I found here off of Viral Style's marketplace, just to give you some ideas of things you can consider when trying to come up with designs. So this is one that I came across in the marketplace that honestly to me this is really, really well done, simple example of a design. And if you scroll down you can see they have 4,700 sales, which is unbelievable. They've made a ton of money selling this at $41.99. And you look how simple this is. Okay, so you've got one font at the top, Yes I Really. Then you've got a second font, Do Need All, and then the third font, These Dogs. Okay, and they've just done some real simple Photoshop manipulation to put this together. And they added the graphics of these little dog paws hanging off here and then some simple silhouettes of dogs that you can find in many different places on the internet. So I just want to bring this up. This is a great template. I just want to bring this up because this is a great template where you can use this to think, okay, if I could put one line, this font, one line, the secondary font, third line like this with a graphic in the middle, this is really easy to read. So let me show you an example of how you can look. If you hold down Control on your keyboard and then you scroll your mouse wheel out, you can actually scroll way out here and get an idea of what a design would look like if it were really small in comparison. You can still read all of this. You can read every single word. You can tell what the graphics are. So this is a great example of something that if you were looking at this on a small mobile device, this is a design that's easy to read, easy to understand, and this is a layout that I would recommend that you see if you can't do a layout that's similar. Here's another layout that I came across in the Viral Style marketplace that I think that this is a pretty good example of a good layout where they're using different fonts. It's just some idea. They're using the vertical font here and then one here. They're just mixing in a lot of different fonts that are all complementary to each other and create kind of a unique and interesting design. So this is something that is not complicated to do. It's just a matter of learning to manipulate fonts in Photoshop or another design program. And the cool thing that what they both have done on this, if you look at it, the Do You Need font here is actually just a white outline that the middle of it, it just shows the color underneath. So it actually looks like you have a blue font here, but all this is just showing the blue sweatshirt underneath. Same here with the Sun one, is this is just showing the black underneath. So it's almost like you get another color in the design, but this design itself is only a one color design. All right, here's an example of a more complicated design that is specific to a certain kind of the gun, pro-gun, Second Amendment right type of niche, and you can see they've had over 3,000 sales here, a lot of sales. So they are utilizing only one color, but what they've done is they keep switching the fonts along the way so that it makes it to be an interesting design, and then they repeat, like Daughter is the same as Nightmares, and then Seem Like, a Happy Place, those are actually the same font, but the Happy Place one is bigger, and they curved it a little bit. This is a unique font where it's actually using a banner, and sometimes you can actually find fonts that do this. Other times it has to be a graphic that's created. The printing on the back of the t-shirt like this with the big graphic in the middle with guns and skulls is very attractive. Here's another one from a similar kind of niche, is the female veterans. And this design is almost the exact same layout if you look compared to this one. It's arching, banner, and then the rest of the text is kind of laid out normal, and then you're interchanging different font types. You've got the big graphic in the middle. It's a very similar style because clearly they figured out this style is what people buy, because this one's got over 3,000 shirts sold as well. So, utilizing this kind of idea of the arching font, the banner, and then putting the big graphic in the middle is a great sample of how you can lay out a design yourself. Now here is a design that, this is really simple, but honestly, I love simple designs. I can tell you that some of my most viral shirts that I've had and best-selling t-shirts that I've put out there have been really simple like this, with just a phrase that was really catchy and clever, and fonts that made sense, and just kind of bold colors. White on black is great because it stands out so well, and then there's just a couple of simple graphics in here. But again, if you scroll out and you look at this small, you can read every word that's in here, and it's just, I love designs that are easy to read when you're viewing them small compared to zoomed in like this. This is just one font for the Universe. This is a different font here, and then Obligation to Make is the same font as the Universe, it's just smaller. And then To You is also a really similar font. So all of this is really tying in together, and it's easy to read. It's not overly scripty. So I'm just using all of these as examples of something to look at. Keep in mind that you're looking for a simple design, something that's easy to read when it's small. And as we create more of these videos, we'll give you some more of the details of how to actually get in and start creating designs for yourself. So one of the resources I wanted to refer you to in getting fonts is, if you're going to begin doing designs yourself, and we'll cover this in a lot more later, is a website called dafont.com, where you can actually download all different types of fonts, and instructions are on the main page right here of how to install them on your computer. You can use them in many different design programs, something like Photoshop, and you can get into calligraphy fonts. You can get into ones that look like cursive writing. You can get ones that look Western. So there are literally so many different types of fonts. This is Arabic. Here's a cartoon style. So there are all these different types of fonts on this website that you can utilize to create your own unique designs. So also, if you're looking to get something like this vector here, is what they call it, the simple one color graphic, and these stars point to some places where you can pick those up. One of them here is called freepik.com. There's free vectors and icons and graphics. You can search on here, something like planet, and it's going to pull up all these different graphics of planets. You'd want to look for ones like this that are just a plain black and white vector. But another thing you can do is just come over here to Google, and if you search for planet vector and you go to images, you're going to find a bunch of different graphics that are out there. Some of them obviously are coming from these websites where you're going to have to pay, and at times we'll subscribe to different websites where you can purchase vectors and purchase graphics. But there are also other free sites out there that you'll come across where you can just download these images for free. So always keep that in mind. Do a little research, some poking around on Google. Here's Freepik, is when you Google this, it's coming up as the first one. Vecteezy is again another place for free vector art. Allfreedownload.com. I've used all of these to get free vectors of different graphics, that something simple that you could plug into a design like this, find stars like this, and really make it easy. These are obviously a lot more complex, and you would have to maybe pay for a graphic designer to create these for you. Same with these. The rest of them, these kind of dogs would be really easy to find. You're just searching for a dog silhouette. I can show you right here. And just like that, you're going to come across tons of them. And again, all free download, and Vecteezy are coming right up here at the top. You can go to those sites and download free vector graphics from them. Another one here is called the Noun Project. You're going to see all kinds of free images and graphics and vectors that you can download from this site as well. So as we get into design a little bit more here down the road, I'm going to teach you actually step by step and some of the details of how you can create some of these designs for yourself, how you can use Viral Styles Designer. I just want to reemphasize in looking at the big picture here. Think about the colors that you're using. Think about the background color and how that background color can show through in the design. You can do designs where you're putting it on the front of the shirt or on the back of the shirt. A lot of different options there. As we get into more detail here, I'll explain how in Viral Styles Designer itself, I'm going to walk you through and show you what the different pricing looks like, how adding additional colors is going to change cost, and you can add different products as well, and also the difference between screen printing on something in the larger orders when you have larger sales, or a direct-to-garment printing when you have less sales. So there's a lot to learn here in the process. We're going to walk you through it. But again, I just want to reiterate that some of the best campaigns out there are just simple. Very simple with just text, or text plus a couple of simple graphics and 1 or 2 colors. And this is something that if you take the time to learn some design skills, you can do for yourself. And honestly, some of these you can do in Viral Style Designer. This is part 2 showing creating a little bit more of an advanced design. So I'm going to get right into it here. So if you were thinking about making a t-shirt for a mechanic and you were looking on Google, you'd actually find that there is a phrase out there that's been used a number of times before that mechanics obviously must like, because otherwise why would people keep doing it over and over again? And the phrase is, I may be a mechanic, but even I can't fix stupid. So it's kind of a clever little funny comment, and it's resounding with mechanics because it's obviously playing off the fact that they can fix anything, but they can't fix stupid people. So what I'm going to do is just show you how we can create a really simple design right here in the Viral Style Designer that you could potentially go and run with and market on your own, and show you that you don't necessarily always need something like Photoshop to get started. You just need to get creative and utilize the tools that are available right at your fingertips, which one of them is here, getting into Viral Style and then coming to Designer. So we're going to be working off of a black t-shirt for this, and we're going to get started here. So something to remember is, again, select colors that are going to pop, and select fonts that you think your audience is going to resonate with. So I'm going to use white and red in this design, and I'm going to use the font RoboSlab, and I'm going to use the font Lobster. So you see those two will be the only 2 fonts I'm going to use. I don't always like using a ton of different fonts. 2 or 3 I would say is good, but sometimes people will have like 5 or 6 different fonts on a design, and it gets kind of sloppy looking and a little messy after a while. So I would recommend try to keep it simple. And again, use offsetting colors. What this is going to do with offsetting colors is it's going to cause whatever that other color is to pop. If you look at this, it's going to, this word mechanic is really going to stand out now. So it's cool because we're trying to market a shirt to mechanics, so we want that word to pop and to really stand out to them. So use that second color very wisely as you're creating your designs here. So when creating designs, I'm often only using 2 colors, and I can't tell you how many designs I've created using very simple graphics and just a mixture of text and color, and they sell really, really well. So what I'm going to design on here is something that I would honestly put together, and I think it could sell. So you need to add some graphics in here, though, that are going to resonate with the people. So if you click on Add Artwork and you just type in something like mechanic, which is who we're building the shirt for, you're going to find Viral Style's got all these really cool graphics that are made available that are going to be related to that particular niche. So I'm going to grab this wrench because I think that any mechanic is going to resonate with a wrench, and we're just going to try to work to fit this thing in here so that it looks good with the graphics that I've already created. So yeah, it's just kind of, I'm not going to get really particular about making sure everything lines up and looks good. But you always want to make sure that your lines run together. Your lines run together. So, you know, this we got to make sure it would be in line with the word mechanic here. So it just looks visually pleasing when all of your lines are working together and it doesn't look sloppy or messy. So I may be a mechanic. I'm going to add another line of text here. But even I. And again, we're going to go back to using the same as that first line. We're going to use the same color and the same font. I'm going to pull this over here. Add another line of text. Can't fix. Same deal. White. Roboto slab. And I'm going to pull it over here. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next here once I get it all together. I want to get in another, this last word here is stupid, and I'm just going to mimic the same color and font as the word mechanic so that they both are kind of standing out together. Alright, so now I also want to get a graphic in here somewhere, one more graphic. If you go back to add artwork, and we still got the word mechanic plugged in here, you see there's different graphics like this car that may resonate with, and these gears, and this here. You know, there's a lot you can play around with. I'm going to grab these gears. I just think these guys are going to stand out well. And they're going to look good in this particular design. So I'm going to kind of bring it over to the left edge here. And then I'm going to try to get it to fit in this space in a way that actually looks good. So, you know, now we've got kind of this open area here that I don't really like. So something I want to touch on real quick here is you look on the left under the layers. What you're going to find is that these words are actually lined up in order from top to bottom. So you see the word stupid is up here at the top and but even is behind. So if I pull that behind it, it would overlap as such. But if you take but even and you drag it up here to the top, now it would be in front of the word stupid. So sometimes it's cool to get some text that overlaps each other. This is just an easy way to move your layers around up and down so that you can make sure it looks good the way that you want it to look good. So I'm just going to increase the size of these fonts. Just play around with it, get it in here. You know, this is a kind of a simple designer, which is great when you're getting started because you might not be able to afford Photoshop. So if you have trouble getting to one of these, just pull it up to the top and then you'll be able to move it a little bit easier. So again, I would say try to get like these all lined up in sync here. And I'm not going to belabor this. You guys can get the idea for yourself. So here we just put together pretty quickly a design that I honestly think if you tweak this a little bit more and got all of the space filled in here, we got this text a little bit bigger. Anyways, you play around with it, you get it to look good. And I think that this design could potentially sell. It's a phrase that's clever, it's a phrase that's catchy, and I think it needs a little more moving around and tweaking, but in the end I think you get the idea here. This is a shirt that would sell, and I can't tell you. I've done shirts over and over and over again that are just using maybe 2 different fonts, 2 different colors, and using a couple of simple graphics like this, and they'll sell like crazy. I've had shirts like this. Something this simple sells thousands of shirts, so it doesn't have to be a massively complex design in order to sell. In fact, I've been testing some really complex designs lately, very detailed hand-drawn graphics, and I'm actually finding that simple designs like this sell better than the super complex ones. It's just, I think it's the way that people are able to grasp the concept on Facebook. And again, always remember, if you hold down the control button and you scroll out with your mouse wheel, you can zoom out and you can view this really small, and this is going to give you an idea of what this might actually look like showing up in somebody's Facebook newsfeed. So that's why you need the stuff that's going to pop and stand out. That's why you need font that is really big, and you need these alternating stuff, because this is all going to stand out to somebody and they're going to be able to get it pretty quickly. So that's a great way to just kind of get out there and look at why it might stand out. Because, for example, if this were a dark red color, if we zoomed out, this word becomes much harder to read when looking at it from a distance, whereas a bright red is really going to pop and stand out. So that's why I always recommend using those bright colors. So there you go. That's a real simple design that you can create right here within Viral Style Designer. You don't have to be a Photoshop guru. You don't have to have a graphic design background. Anybody can get in here. It's just a matter of taking the time to learn this particular designer, and then once you master this, then you have extra money. Maybe you do move on to something like Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, and you'd be able to create much more complex designs. But this is something that I think anybody can get in here and play around with and do. So it's just about balancing the way that the text is flowing. Make sure that your lines are lining up, your lines are lining up here, and you're spicing in some graphics and different font sizes to kind of make it interesting. So this is and to preface this video, I really have to state that Photoshop is really a behemoth of a program, and honestly you can spend years and years working in Photoshop, studying Photoshop, going through courses, and still not know all of the different things that you can do, all of the optimizations that you can take advantage of. We really have to state here, this is just such a basic beginner level intro of some things you can do in Photoshop to design a t-shirt. And I would really encourage you to hone in your skills, get better at your craft as far as on the design side, and get out there and just Google Photoshop tutorials. You'll find all kinds of information out there. You can find some paid courses, you can find free courses, and really take some time to educate yourself. The better you get at Photoshop, the more creative you can get within your designs. We are not going to be training on any kind of intermediate or expert level by any means. We're just going to give you this real basic intro to Photoshop here in this video. So first step, what you're going to have to do is pick up Photoshop, which fortunately Photoshop is a paid monthly subscription. If you only pick up Photoshop and not all of the other software that Adobe offers, it's a pretty minimal monthly cost to you, and you get the full Photoshop program, and it will continually be updated every time Photoshop releases new updates. This is great because I remember dropping $700-800 to buy Photoshop years ago before they started offering this program. So this really is an ideal situation for people getting into design without having to spend too much money. You can get in here and start utilizing this program. So that's step one. So we're going to be working in this tutorial off of a design concept, and I'm going to show it to you right here. It's called Keep Calm. It's a German Shepherd, not a freaking bear. So this is the design we're going to create, and I'm just going to step-by-step walk you through how I ended up coming up with this design. So in some research, I'd found that there's a phrase out there, keep calm, it's a German Shepherd, not a freaking shark. It was a shirt design that had been done many times before. It seemed to be very popular. So we changed the word here from shark to bear, and now as we're creating our own unique design and changing up the phrase, this is now a new original concept. It's a new original piece. I haven't seen any shirts out there with this saying. And honestly, it still fits the punchline. It still fits the emphasizing that it's a nice household pet, not this, attack animal. So with this, you're going to have a few things. I'm going to walk you through how to get each of these things to create a design like this. The first thing you're going to need is to pick your fonts, and then you're going to have to pick your colors, and then you're going to have to choose a graphic like this is something I would always recommend. And combining these things together to get this kind of outline in this design, it works, and it creates a good looking design. So the first step is I would recommend 1 or 2 color designs. So if this was a 1 color design, it would all be white on black, and being that's a 2 color design, we're picking red because red really stands out. It looks good in print, and I think it fits this design. So red and white are our 2 colors here. The second part that we're doing is we're going to need to get some fonts. So the way that you do that, there's a website out there called dafont.com. If you come to this website, you will find hundreds, maybe even thousands of fonts that are available in all different types and themes. You can dig through here, find all kinds of cool stuff, and the instructions are right here of how to install it on your computer. So I'm not going to belabor that. Get out there, find some fonts that you like, download them to your computer, and then you should be good to go. There's also plenty of other sites out there like that offer free fonts, and there are some fonts that you're going to have to pay for, and sometimes it's worth it to get a really cool font that you like. The next step is that you're going to have to create your template, which I've got one set up here already, and let me show you exactly the dimensions for this. You would go in Photoshop, go to File, New, and then you're going to do width of 3000 and a height of 3500, resolution 300, and this is all in pixels, and then you want to make sure this is RGB color, and then you just press OK. All right, and that's a perfectly laid out dimension for a t-shirt. It's going to fit well, the graphics are going to fit well, it's going to look good, so you'd want to work within that. It's going to be high resolution enough for viral style. So I've got mine set up here already, And for the purpose of this tutorial, I've also got some guides that I've lined up here. Don't worry about these as I pulled these up. This is just me making sure that I line up my design exactly as I want it to be. You don't have to worry about putting guides in yourself. As you're designing, you're going to have to figure that out along as you go and getting, this layout that you like. But since I'm recreating this layout, I've just set up some guides for myself here. So the next thing you have to figure out is what color of t-shirt you want your design to go on. Do you want it on black or navy or green or red? Make that choice, and then what you're going to do is make your background layer here, your layer section. You can rearrange these windows in Photoshop yourself. I've got layers here, history here, I've got my tools over here, and then I've got a little window here for manipulating the fonts. It's called character. This is the easiest setup, in my opinion, in regards to making t-shirt designs in Photoshop. So your background layer here, if you click on it, if you click on this paint bucket tool here, then you're going to want to pick your color by coming down here and clicking on this. And here you can move up and down the color spectrum and get whatever color you're looking for. But black is what I'm doing for this particular design. And then once this is clicked, you just click here on it, and it's going to fill this entire layer black. Okay, so that's step one. Now step two is I'm going to start creating my font. So right here, T is the type tool. So again, looking at this, I'm going to start out with keep and calm. So if I put it in here, you just click, and then you can start typing. Okay, so now up here is going to be the color that you're going to be typing in. So if you click on this, I'm going to select white. Now make sure you pull it all the way to the corner to get white. It's going to say all these F's in here. You press OK, and that's giving you a good pure white. So I'm going to type in keep. Okay, but this isn't the font that I want to use. So you can play around with this, and then you can just highlight your font here. And then I'm going to actually use a font here called Futura. This size is not the size that I'm looking for, so I'm going to go ahead and increase this. You can just scroll up on your mouse, or you can type in numbers. I'm going to get this to the size I want. And then if you click here on this little move tool on the left, you can then start to move this thing around to get it exactly where you're looking for. So I've got, again, my guides lined up. I'm just going to drop this in exactly where I want it right there for this one. And then the next word, press this T button again, click in here, and then type in calm. Okay, so I do these on two different layers by just taking that, clicking off, and then clicking back on the type tool. That allows two different layers so I can move these things separately. Now something to keep in mind is, let's say you have to pay attention to what layer you're clicked on here, because if you're accidentally clicked on the keep layer, if you try to click on calm and move it, you're going to start moving around keep. So make sure you're clicked on the right layer, and then you can move it and get it lined up to where you want it. So I'll drop this in here. That's where I want it for this design. Keep calm. Okay, the next thing I want to think about here is that graphic, this dog in here, this German Shepherd. So the easiest way to find graphics like this, and I'm going to show you here, is just go to Google and Google free vector graphics. And there's going to be dozens and dozens of sites out there where you can download free, royalty-free graphics online. There's also going to be links to places like Dreamstime or Shutterstock where you can actually purchase vector graphics, and then you can pull them into your computer. These work great. You really want to get these kind of flat 1 or 2 color graphics. Are wonderful for t-shirts. So sometimes when you come up with one like this guy here, what I had found was this is a black dog, but I'm doing a black background, so a black dog won't work. So I'm going to show you real quick here how to convert this into a white graphic. Just a few tips. So first of all, hide this background. Okay, so now we're just selected on the actual layer of the dog itself. Then you're going to come over here, there's an eraser tool, and if you right click on this and then click on magic eraser tool, whatever you click on is going to erase that whole color. Okay, so if it's checked for contiguous, if you click on it, it's only going to erase the white sections that are touching each other, but since these parts are not touching each other, it doesn't erase it. Okay, if you uncheck contiguous, it's going to erase everything in that color. So if I click this now, look at that, just like that, all of the white is deleted from my graphic. Now the next thing that you need to do is think about maybe increasing the size of this image. Since this is kind of small, you could increase this resolution to something like 300 and maybe about 2,000 dimensions in pixels. When you do that, it's going to make this image bigger, okay? And it'll just show up better on the design you're creating. And the last little tip here I give is go into Filter, Sharpen, and then Smart Sharpen, and see how it sharpens up and cleans up all the edges of this graphic. Okay, so if you unclick preview, you see the big difference there. how it's just sharpening, it's tightening up all the edges, it's getting rid of the fuzziness and the blurriness and making it like a hard, sharp edge. And then last step here is we still got to make this graphic white. So I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, and then in here you can choose black, you can choose white, or you can get in here and click Color and choose any number of colors on the color spectrum. So I'm going to just go ahead and click on white and press OK. And now we've got our white dog here that is exactly what we were looking at here in this design. So I've already got him set up here with the dimensions that I need. So I'm going to copy this, and then you copy by doing on a PC Control A and then Control C. On a Mac it would be Command A and then Command C. And what that does is it just copies a layer. And then if you come over to your document, you can do Control V, or on a Mac Command V. There's our little doggy. So now if you click on this tool again, the Move tool, I can move him and get him lined up just where I want. Okay, so there he is. Now our design is filling in, starting to come together. So the next step here is I need to look at this next line here. It's A. So I did this one in just a slightly different font. So if you just click in here and let's say we just type in it's A, and this is obviously now this is too big. So it's good to have different sizes, and especially a little part of the design like this, you want to think about making this smaller. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to, there's actually a font out there, it's called Keep Calm. So it's what you see used in many of those t-shirts, and I'm going to make this quite a bit smaller here. So it's kind of creating just like an interesting difference between the way that the fonts here look. And then I'm going to drop it in right here where I wanted it in my design. So you can, again, on your own, play around with this, get it exactly the way you want it to look. All right, so next up here is the German and the Shepherd. So again, I press my Type tool, and I would click in here, and then I'm going to go back to my Futura font and type in the word German. Okay, now this is where I'm going to start utilizing that second color. So you would select all of this word, and then up here in the color area I'm going to pull all the way into the top here and get it to be red. Okay, then now the next thing I need to do is start increasing the size of this, because I would really like it to look quite a bit bigger than what I've got in here. Alright, so something like that looks pretty good for me, and again, for the sake of time, I'm going to use my tools here. Now let me show you a little trick in getting things centered. So let's say you pull it in here. You really want it to be exactly in the middle, but you're not sure how to eyeball it. The easiest tip in how to do this is you would do Control A on a PC or Command A on a Mac, and then you come up here, make sure you clicked on this Move button, and then up here at the top is some places where you can choose to align your words. So you can align to the left, to the middle, to the right. You can also do top, middle, bottom, etc. So again, let me get this back here exactly positioned where I want it to be. Okay, and again, Control A or Command A, click this, and then if I click this guy right here, it's going to align it perfectly in the middle. Okay, so now we've got that in there, and the next word is Shepherd. This is a pretty cool little trick I'm going to show you here. You see commonly out there in different designs is basically creating this transparent lettering to allow that background color to show through, and it almost makes it look like you've got a third color in your design here without paying for it, because every color you put in the design is going to cost you. So you want to try to keep the amount of colors you use as low as possible. I try to usually do only 1 or 2 colors in my designs. So on this one, the black looks like we have a black font in here, but all it is, again, is it's a transparency showing the t-shirt underneath. Okay, so if this was blue, it would be blue showing through. If this was green, it would be green showing through. So the way to do that is, first of all, come back in here to the Type tool again and just click in here, and then you can type in Shepherd. And I always recommend double, triple check your spelling. I have before accidentally misspelled words, and then you go through the whole process of designing, and you upload it, and you launch it, and you start advertising it, and then you realize that you might have misspelled a word. And shepherd is kind of a funky word. It's shepherd. You always double check your spelling. Okay, so I'm going to come in here, and now I'm going to change this to white, and I need to make this a bit smaller. All right, now I also going to pull up my guides here and get this lined up with the guide that I wanted. and then go through that process again of hitting Control A or Command A and then clicking this to make it centered. All right, so now I got that in there. The next step I need to do is create this red box that you see here. So the way I do that is you come in here, and if you right click on this, you can see there's options here to create many different shapes. So I'm going to choose the rectangle tool, and I'm going to choose my color here. Now it's very important, if you just simply hover over here and click on this red, you're going to pick this red. But it's very important that you pick the exact same red, because if you pick this red right here or this red right here, which both look very similar, technically these are different colors and you would be charged for another color in your design. So you want to make sure you get that exact same color. So if you, again, click on this and then just click on the red here, it'll pick that color for you. You press OK. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my guides again just for the sake of this, making this simple. If you just left click and hold down, what it does is it starts creating this rectangular box. And when you let go, all of a sudden a box is created here. Okay? So the first thing I want to do is, again, do my Control A and click this and then click this to center it and make sure that it's equally spaced. The next thing I need to do is I need to pull, if you click on the word shepherd here in the layers, the way Photoshop layers are set up is that whatever's at the top is going to show up at the top of what is seen. So I need to left click on this and hold down and drag it and drop it up above here, above the rectangle. So now you can see my word shepherd here appears on top. So another little tip here, let's say that if you click the move button here, let's say the word shepherd here was a little bit off. As you're moving this thing around, what Photoshop is going to want to do is, you can see it kind of locks in and snaps into the center. Inside of this box that you've created. So it makes it easy to line things up so that you don't accidentally have it way off somewhere. So just like that, I'm just moving it around. It's snapping itself into the center of this box that it's hovering on top of. Makes it pretty simple. Okay, the next thing that you have to do here is you need to left click on shepherd, hold down shift, and then left click on the rectangle that you just created. And you're going to right click and then go to convert to smart object, and then right click and go to rasterize layer. Okay, so now these two layers are merged together and joined as one graphic. So they can't be separated anymore. And what we're going to do now is erase the white that is in here to let the back show through. So again, come here, if you right click on the eraser and go to magic eraser, make sure that contiguous is not checked. And if you just click on any part of the white, all of that white will erase. So simple as that. Now you've got this black showing through. It just creates kind of a defining font within the design. You'll see this on a lot of designs that are out there. And again, it's a transparent part where it's just letting the background show through. So that's a pretty cool little trick there. And the last part of this design is we're moving into these final two lines of text. So something to think about when picking your fonts is you want the fonts to emulate the message you're trying to represent. So these fonts up here are clean and bold, and they're, in my opinion, they're representing this idea that this German Shepherd is a good household animal, whereas down here this is a real rough, grungy font that is, in my opinion, emulating outdoors. It's emulating bear. It's emulating maybe dangerous or dirty or something. So the fonts themselves are kind of, in a way, speaking a message of the German Shepherd is a nice pet. It's not this attack animal. Pick a font that is going to really represent. You can use the wrong fonts and you'll end up having a design that won't sell because the fonts themselves are casting the wrong message. So if I come in here now and again click this type tool, I'm going to use a font that is called Plain Crash. This is one you can find on DaFont. And you just click in here. Now something I want to show you is if you're accidentally in caps with a font like this, it's going to show up with all these crazy graphics. So this is a font that, for whatever reason, you have to type in all lowercase. So you're going to type in not a freaking. And then if we select all of it, I need to, again, reduce the size of this to fit exactly into the size that we're looking for. And get it all nice and lined up here. So you're making it fit the design. And I'm just going to use my guide here. Yep, already on there. And again, I always do Control A and then click this to get it it snaps right there to make it perfectly centered. All right, and then last step here, I'm going to change my color here for this last word, bear. I want my color to match this red again. So as you saw me do, this right here is the color of the font itself. You click it, and then I would just click on this red. Whoops. Now see, here's a little tricky thing. Because I haven't actually typed and created a new layer yet, what Photoshop is doing is it's still working on that last layer that I was on. So Photoshop's got its little quirks like that, so I would just hit cancel. What I have to actually do is click in here first and then change my color. So I just click on that, hit OK, and I would type in my word bear. So now I've got this red bear, and again I got to increase the size of this to be the size that I'm looking for, and I want it to be pretty big and bold and stand out in the design. So I'm going to make it real big like this. And then last step is I'm just going to get it lined up here the way that I wanted it. Again, Control A, click this, and it centers the word bear there. So now, as you can see, pretty quickly we recreated this exact design step by step. In my opinion, this is a good, clean design that would stand out well. I always recommend use really big words. As you can see, I only a couple of times am using, this isn't even very small font, but this is kind of the smallest stuff I use because I like big, chunky words because it's going to stand out well on Facebook. I also really recommend that you think about the colors and how you're using your second color. So here I only use it on German Shepherd and Bear because those are kind of the two punchlines in their own. So what it's doing is the keep calm stands out, German Shepherd then stands out, not a freaking then really pops in between these two red parts here, and then Bear stands out by itself. So think about your colors. I wouldn't do like keep and then calm and then red. Keep this together because it's all emphasizing one point. German Shepherd is emphasizing one point, so we keep that together. Bear is emphasizing a point, and this just makes it more interesting to the eye. This design is more appealing to see all these different colors in here and the way that it kind of creates this pattern and makes it more interesting for somebody to read. It also emphasizes German Shepherd, then ties in with Bear. Keep calm ties in with not a freaking, it's kind of opposites. So those are the things to think about, and as you get more into design, you'll learn more and more about this stuff. Also, I really recommend get out there and look at designs that are selling and use them as an example. If you see a layout for a mechanic shirt, take that same layout and use it to create a German Shepherd shirt. It's simple as that. So last step we need to do here is save our image. So if you come in, you first of all are going to want to save your Photoshop file. So I'll just rename this since I've already been working with it. Make sure it says Photoshop, make sure you've got your layers in here, and just click Save and just hit OK. And then what that's going to allow you to do is come back in here and actually open up this file with all of the layers in here so that you could change it down the road if you wanted to. You could change the colors, and you'd also be able to see what fonts you're using and pull the graphics out if you wanted to use them in a future design. The second step, though, that you need to do in order to upload it to ViralStyle, first of all, hide the background layer. So now it's just transparent. That's what these checkered boxes in the back are, and all you're seeing is the white and the red. So now we go again here to Save As, choose our PNG, and then just hit Save, and then I'm going to hit OK to replace the one that was already in there. And that is it. So now our file is ready to go. It's ready to be uploaded into ViralStyle Designer, and you can hit the races from there. So again, thank you for working through this Photoshop tutorial with us. Please get out there, take some time on your own to learn more about Photoshop, but this is just some basic things to get you started here and that you can begin